And so much more we have in store for you this evening. And along for this journey is, of course, Rhoda Nyamai on sign language. With that out of the way, shall we begin? And the government will slow down the uptake of external commercial debt and adopt innovative solutions as it moves to manage public debt. This, of course, pushes the percentage to 55.45. Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u says that the strict revenue collection measures that the government is using, or rather the strict revenue collection measures will remain as the government seeks to diversify the revenue sources and use concessional financing from partners. Hibak Said tells us more on how this government plans to tame the ballooning debt.
In the hubbub of reading the national budget and the celebrations that came after it, stood the imposing plan of how the government plans to push the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Measures it will take to raise revenue in its 3.9 trillion shilling budget.
There is increased demands for increased spending or expenditures from the government. That means that either we have to finance that through taxes or debt.
Strict guidelines were issued tightening the belt, or is it the noose, to tame the ballooning wage bill, standing at 38% of the total expenditure.
It is painful, as you can see, if it's 38.2% in terms of total budget, total outlay expenditures, is very high. But we are also moving an extra step to say we have to have the quality mix.
This as the Cabinet Secretary froze a number of state tours and trainings and announced the shift to a accrual accounting system, a system meant to phase out pending bills completely.
Pending bills is a menace. On one side, those who are still holding debt on the government and have not been paid for years, since we are starting from 2005, you can imagine what it means to their suffering, what happens to their investment, and what happens to their businesses. That's why we want to say this is the end of that. We want to do this with a finality. We should appreciate that and look at history and try to live down that bad history. We want to live it down by coming to a finality.
The National Treasury aims at financing the budget through revenue collection, grants, as well as both foreign and domestic borrowing.
Mr. Speaker, to protect local assemblies and create fairness and equity in taxation, I propose an introduction of excise duty on imported, fully built motorcycle at the rate of 10% of the customs value, in addition to specific tax duty rate of Kenya shillings 12,952.83 cents per unit, whichever is higher. Mr. Speaker, participation in betting, gaming, prize competition, lotteries continues to affect socio-economic fabric of our society, given their addictive nature. Mr. Speaker, last year we raised the excise duty on these activities from 7.5% to 12.5% to discourage participation. Despite this increase, participation rate in these activities by Kenyan citizens, especially school-going children and young adults, continues to persist. To further discourage this behavior, I propose to increase the excise duty tax rates to 20%.
And so ends the reading for the budget 2024-2025. This as the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, says that there is no discrepancy between the budget that he read today of 3.9 trillion and the 4.006 trillion budget that the Appropriations and Budget Committee Chair Ndindi Nyoro had talked about. This as he says that the tax measures that have been put in place in the finance bill is essential to ensure that the revenue collected is used for development projects. Hibak Said for TV 47 from Bunge.